Judging by the political campaigns held across Nigeria, the 2023 general election is not going to be business as usual. Presidential candidates of the top four parties have been combing every corner of the country to convince the electorate of their plans for the country. The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has made a number of promises he intends to fulfill if voted to power in the next presidential election. The most recent being the full revival of the iron and steel company in Ajaokuta, Kogi State, to create jobs for teeming young Nigerians. Atiku said that a vote for him is a solution to the challenges bedeviling Nigeria. But this isn't the first time Nigerians have heard such promise. The question is, what makes Atiku Abubakar different or the best man for the job? Joining us on the show this morning to discuss Atiku's chances at the coming presidential election, how he intends to tackle the pressing issues in Nigeria, and the party's campaign so far, is Dr. Bukola Saraki, former Senate President of Nigeria. Welcome to the morning show. So good to see you.
So good to see you.
I'm looking at you and I'm like, you're looking so well and so young, so charming.
So you such a long time.
It's been a while.
Nice to meet you.
Yes.
It's the morning show.
Thank you.
So the first thing I would want to ask, I've been monitoring the election in the last few months, the campaign rather, in the last few months, and I've listened to quite a few pundits, and I've also listened to some political analysts, and they're saying that the top three candidates, not four now, top three candidates is Atiku Abubakar, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, and Peter Obi. Some people have said that Peter Obi is definitely going to win. Others said, no way. But let me ask you, you've been in politics in Nigeria for quite a while, and you've done well for yourself in terms of the work that you have done. So let me ask you this. What is the path to success for your candidate, Waziri Adamawa, who is the presidential candidate of PDP? How do you see him winning the election? What would be the path?
Okay, first of all, I strongly believe that the 2023 election is a referendum on the performance of APC government and party. And I believe that a country like ours, a very progressive country, a lot of progressive individuals, will never reward failure. The question that Nigerians must ask is, has this government and the party failed or done well in the last 7 years plus? And let's take the indices one by one, because I want to steer on issues and move away on sentiments. In 2015, the promise to Nigerians was that we will fight insecurity, we would improve the economy, we will create jobs for the youth. Those were the major issues. In 2015, you can remember very clearly, the insecurity issues in this country was limited to the Northeast. Since then to today, we've seen insecurity in the Northwest. Farmers cannot go to their farm. People are being killed, kidnapped. We've seen herdsmen, farmers clash in the North Central. We've seen the highest level of oil theft in the South. We've seen kidnapping. So, on issue of security, they have not performed, they have failed. Let's take the economy. And again, I'm going to take them one by one. And I will challenge you because we are all well knowledgeable on all these issues. Let's take inflation. Where the inflation level is today, it's about 16%. It was never like that in time of PDP in single digits. You have the highest number of Nigerians below the poverty line, 133 million. It was not like that. Unemployment on that PDP was again about 6-7%. Today it's 33%. Youth probably about 54%. Foreign direct investment, if we're lucky, maybe just about 2 billion compared to 8-9 billion. These are facts we cannot run away from. On the economy as well, exchange rate, 200 naira, official for 125, parallel market to 230. Today, official, 415, something like that. Black market, 735. Never been like this. These are facts. When you take all these issues, they have failed. And as they have failed, as a political party, we cannot reward failure. So I don't even think that the race should be about APC. They've had an opportunity to make Nigerians' lives better, but they have not. The question now goes, as you've asked, who next? Some will say, oh, do we want to go back to PDP? Let's talk about that back to PDP, the PDP days. In the PDP days, as I said, we had insecurity just limited to one part of the country. In the PDP days we're talking about, we had GDP growth of about 6, 7, 8%. Now we're seeing GDP growth probably 2%, less than population growth. In the PDP days we're talking about, we had foreign direct investment into this country, enrolling about $8 billion. Largest economy in Africa. These are the PDP days. Exchange rate was not 700 inch to 1,000 at a time. These are the PDP days. PDP days, the country was more united. Now, it is normal in democratic settings that the populace has a choice to say, sometimes you get tired of a party and you say, oh, I'm going to try another party. But when the parties fail, you come back to those what they call the good days. And that is what PDP offers under Atiku Abubakar. When you talk about the other parties, with great respect to them, to the individuals, particularly Peter. But again, don't forget that what we run in Nigeria, we run a presidential system. When you go to that ballot box on the day of election, you're voting for party. You don't see Peter, you see a party. Now, a party where from day one, you don't have candidates in all the parliamentary seats. So already from day one, there's a recipe for disaster because you know that the executive and the legislature are not going to have a majority. And a lot of people, when you ask them, what is their concern now? They tell you restructuring. These are things that need constitutional review. These are things that need you also to have a majority in the National Assembly. Investors are no longer satisfied with executive orders. They want to see legislation to support investment. So if you're a party, a small party, that you don't even have the spread, because we've seen the experience in 2015, let's move away from intention to reality and practicality. The practicality why APC has failed, because APC really was a special vehicle party to win election, not a party that was built with cohesion. And so a small party does not have the spread across the country. Even if it has a president and doesn't have parliament, from day one, we're not going to see what Nigerians want to see. The laws that will change the constitution, the laws that will restructure, make the country more efficient. Now that takes me back again to Atiku Abubakar. In Atiku Abubakar, you have a candidate that is ready from day one to run. And you say, what do I mean by that? The experience he has is even at a federal level, not subnational. All the other two candidates, with respect to them, have been at best governors at subnational level. I've been a governor as well. But I will tell you from my experience as governor was 8 years, and my experience as president of the Senate, presiding over Nigerians from different parts of the country, different languages, different religion, different culture, is totally different. That experience, you don't gain as subnational because you're a governor. Because when you're a governor, it is not multi-ethnicity.
Okay, very quickly,
yes.
Let's just stream it down. In terms of your path to success, I'm still waiting to get an answer to that so that we can move to other issues. Some people have said that for anybody to win election, they must get a certain percentage in a certain number of states.
Yes.
Do you think that PDP has done enough? If election was to happen today,
We'll get
do you
the
think?
spread. Yeah, of course. We will
So
get.
what will be your path? Where do you think PDP is so strong and your candidate is so strong, he will get the result required? Southwest, for example. Some people said it's not going to happen because they said APC owns Southwest. The Southeast, they said Labour Party will take it because of Peter Obi. The North, there's going to be a competition between Shettima and Atiku. So where is your path?
Very simple. The PDP, again, as a party, with the kind of candidature we have at Atiku Abubakar, we will easily get our 25% constitutional requirement across the country. If you do any polling, any discussions, you will find out we're either coming first or we're coming second in most of the states that we're doing. South-South has always been a strong PDP area. We will do very well in South-South. South is the challenge we have there, of course, is Labour, but we will still do well in Southeast and take our 25%. Right? We will do well in North Central. We will do well in Northwest and Northeast. You need 4 zones. By the time you have 4 zones, you win the election.
So your 4 zones will be?
Will be our 4 zones that will win. We'll win Northwest, we'll win Northeast, we'll win South-South, we'll win North Central.
Right.
Those are the 4 zones, and we'll take our 25% in more than 24 states. There's no doubt about that in my mind that we'll get there.
Thank you for your review of your chances at the polls come February 25, based on perhaps your campaign activities and what you suppose are the strongholds that PDP has in these states. But I'd like you to speak to some of the things that you've talked about with regards to the failure of the APC government in terms of handling security, the economy, and why you believe that the PDP coming in would create that difference. The first thing is that you were elected under the APC, under the umbrella of the APC in 2015, and you served as Senate President during that time. I'd like you to share with us, some of the things that was that one of the reasons why you left the APC, because they were not, in terms of their party ideology and how they handled the economy and how they handled security situation? That's one. And the second thing is, with regards to structure, the presidential candidate of the APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, had spoken to structure as well, saying that, you vote a party with structure, but Mr. Peter Obi, whom you referred to, said that it's the structure we're trying to do away with. We're trying to do away with the structure of entitlement, impunity. I mean, aside the political structure he was referring to, I know you're talking about numbers and being able to have his people in the house so that you can pass laws. But he's also saying that it is an opportunity for Nigerians to do away with the old and come in with the new. I'd like to take you.
Okay, can I start? Yes, you can do away with coming with the new, but it has to be comprehensive. In France, when Macron came in, Macron came in, he was not part of the structure. But the movement there was not just on the executive. The country voted for even parliamentary candidates of that party. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong in that. What I'm saying from what you've seen, the party itself started, April, May? These kind of movements should have started much earlier, where it's not just the presidential. That's the point I'm making, that it must also be a House of Assembly, National Assembly, where a party from day one does not have candidates filling all the positions in National Assembly. It's already a problem. That's the point I'm making. I'm not saying I'm not talking about structure in that sense. I'm talking about, so from day one, based on my experience, and I'm sure you've seen it, it means that that government will not be functional, because definitely will not have that support to be able to drive, because all this is for what? Is to drive those changes. So when you are promising as a presidential candidate, when I get there, I will make sure that the states have powers, I'll make sure that this will happen. It can only happen if you have that support. So that's the point I'm making there. Let me go back to, you talked about, you remind me.
I'd spoken about the APC government in terms of...
Yes. Well, as you can see, you all know the history, that I parted ways. Yes, I've said that we're one of those that came and sold the APC to Nigerians. But I realized very early on that we're not going to deliver on the promises made. And this was not what we promised Nigerians. We had promised Nigerians as I said, we'll bring employment, we'll fight the issue of insecurity, we'll ensure there's investment, we'll create an environment for investment, and this has not happened. And as such, there was no way in my conscience to continue to stay in that party. I say it many times, even those who are in that party cannot tell Nigerians that they have performed, because the indices there. I argue any of those things I've said this morning, if anybody can fault them, for as long as you cannot fault those things I've said, that party has failed. And if it has failed, are we going to reward failure? I don't think. In our lives, we don't reward failures. In our homes, we don't reward failure. In our offices, we don't reward failure. They have failed. Same way in 2015, when Nigerians felt PDP had failed, they voted for another party. So I am saying that no matter the propaganda, no matter all the slogan, no matter all that, we must go back to content. Have they performed? If they have failed, then the agenda or the discussion we should be holding now for the next 4 weeks is, where do we go as Nigerians? Do we go to any of these smaller parties who are offering a dream or their own vision? Or do we go to safe hands? I'm saying that Atiku Abubakar is a safe hand today. And because of the precarious position this country is, we cannot afford an experiment again as 2015.
So just to fact check, the
Go
Labour
ahead.
Party was actually founded in 2002 as a party for social democracy and turned to the Labour Party in 2006 because he said last year. And they've
No, I'm saying the movement of Peter Obi into...
All right, just to clarify.
No, I'm not the movement of Peter Obi.
Because they produced the governor, Mr. Olusegun Mimiko.
No, I'm talking about for this election.
All right, okay.
The point I'm saying for this election, all the movement started when he moved into... There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying that as a party, that movement of Labour Party, candidates for all the positions, it's not there. So it would be very, very dangerous from the practical point of view, having a president from a party with a parliament that this party does not control. We will have achieved this, but at the same time, we will not deliver on those promises that they made. I'm speaking as somebody who has presided over the National Assembly, and I know what it takes to make the country move forward, because some of the things we need to do need legislation.
Yeah, I had, just to continue on that path, I had conversation with quite a few people across different political parties, and they said that politicians have a penchant for jumping ship when they think things are not going right, that what they should be doing is what happens in other climes, stay within the boat and try and create the change. A typical example that was given is that Ashwaju has decided that in spite of whatever might have been the errors of the current Buhari administration, he's going to stay there and contest with a view to change whatever has gone wrong. Why don't you do the same? Why wouldn't you stay with APC and be part of the change within that would ensure that APC perform or delivers on its promise?
That was a question of 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes, no, I'm saying that why don't you think that the likes of Ashwaji should have a chance to create the change?
I'm not saying they shouldn't.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that the point is that the party has failed. Now, yes, he's asking for an opportunity to be given a chance to repair. He says, I will continue where Buhari has left it. That is what he's saying to Nigerians. I'm saying what Nigerians has been through, the pain, the hardship, this is not the time to go through that. Nigerians are looking for a better time. They're looking for a much fruitful future. So it's a choice they have to make. So I'm not saying, what I'm saying is that as Nigerians, we should ask ourselves that this party has failed. Yes, the candidate is saying that, don't worry, I will improve on the failures, I'll make it better. But there are other options for Nigerians. Okay. The other option for Nigerians is go to that party. In their time, the economy was much better. The country was more secure. And the candidate... Go back to that. Pardon?
And we should go back to that.
Go back to that.
Okay, but while you're thinking along that line, some Nigerians are wondering, you are a Nigerian, you come from the North Central, and the question that is being asked is, this being almost 8 years, 7 years going to 8 years of a man who is Hausa Fulani. And then we're looking at the possibility of PDP giving us another Hausa Fulani man for another 4 years, possibly even 8 years. You from the North Central, that some people consider as Yoruba to a large extent, though you share heritage with both the Hausas and the Yorubas. Do you personally, and I'm talking to Dr. Bukola Saraki now, not a politician, as a Nigerian, Dr. Bukola Saraki, do you think it will be fair in terms of equity to have another Hausa Fulani as the next president of Nigeria? Do you think it is fair?
I think the issue is that what is fair is a better Nigeria. Now, if you look at the number of years where power has been between the North and the South since 1999, particularly under the present republic, there hasn't been that much difference. There's a difference of 4 years that still needs to run to the North to balance. So there's no large discrimination to one side. But what is fair now, in my view, where I sit down, I talk to Nigerians, is a better life. Atiku Abubakar will provide that better life. Unfortunately, the reason why we've got to where we've got to, where ethnicity and religion has become so paramount, is again part of the failure of APC. Atiku Abubakar does not belong to that. Here is a man who, if you look at his career, he's lived in the North, he's lived in the South. He's surrounded by people from across the country. His focus will be pan-Nigerian. He's always been like that. And another issue against other candidates who have played regional politics mostly, he's always played Nigeria first. So what is fair is, would we get a better Nigeria? I think we'll get a better Nigeria with Atiku because he'll be transparent. You will not have the lopsided appointment. What has raised the issues like this, that people like yourself are saying, is it fair? It's because what we've seen the APC party do in appointments. You do appointment disregards to certain part of the country. You do take certain action as if certain part of the country do not matter. That is what has aggravated why Nigerians feel like this. Right. But more important than that is, who will make Nigeria better? Who will unite this country? Who has friends across the country?
Irrespective of their tribe or religion.
Of their tribe, because his antecedent has shown that.
Okay, let's talk about making Nigeria better, because that's top of mind for many Nigerians. Yes. We just want a better country where the people can thrive and can live well. So let's look at the economy which you spoke about. 77 trillion naira debt profile. It has been said a number of times on this show that the next president has a lot is coming into it, inheriting an economically weak nation, and we have a revenue challenge.
You're very right.
In what ways would your presidential candidate, what are the plans to revive the economy, which he promised on one of his campaign trails last year, to revive the economy, to shore up Nigeria's revenue, and to respond to this debt profile of 77 trillion naira, because that's big on the table.
Well, that's huge. I mean, if you can recollect, when PDP were up 2015, the total debt profile was about 10 trillion. Today, as you rightly said, is 40. Maybe they will tell you it's 40 trillion, but if you add ways and means, you're close to 77 trillion, and you're running at about 90% of debt to revenue. That is because, you know why? I remember when I was president of the Senate, when we had economic recession, we organized meeting with the private sector, and one of the things we're driving them was investment, looking at assets of which we can allow people to invest. But this government just continued to go just one line, which was just borrowing. There was no opportunity given for people to come and invest. So the only opportunity, if you didn't have the revenue, was to borrow. Under Atiku Abubakar, who has always said it will be private sector driven, you will see investment coming in, because there are a lot of people that still want to invest in this great country. But the language, the attitude of the APC and the APC government has not encouraged that. So 3 things are key. 1, oil theft needs to be dealt with and fought precisely. That has not happened. That is why we've lost a great opportunity. All producing countries under this Ukraine-Russian war have had, look at Angola. They've benefited from this. It is not acceptable how, despite this, we're still having oil theft. That will stop on that. The corruption there, that will stop. He has said also on the issue of foreign exchange, multi-currency rates will stop, multi-rates will stop. That will encourage investment coming in, people will come in. There are a lot of people who want to bring currency money into the country, but then they're going to come in at when they know that the official rate is not ridiculous, not realistic. That is no. So you're trying to ensure that funds come in, so that more money available, right? Thirdly, if you have private sector leaving infrastructure development, some of that private sector can take it off your hand. So these are ways in which you will create the jobs. Now, and then you start reducing your level of borrowing, which at the moment, and the only way to do that is, as I said, where some of those projects now can be looked for other source of financing, which is equity, which is investment on the private sector. The reality is that until you build confidence in the private sector to invest in this country, this pathway which they're going, which is reckless. I mean, you have budget deficit now at what, 4.67%? The Fiscal Responsibility Act that exists now, I'm sure a lot of you don't know, that was initiated, I remember I was SA Budget when I went to meet, he was Vice President Atiku Abubakar. I said, I saw this law in Brazil to do fiscal responsibility. He said, bring it to me. He moved for that law to be passed. And that law said you must not go above 2 to 3% fiscal. This government is running 4.67%. That would not happen under Atiku Abubakar to bring down the level of borrowing. So there will be some discipline. Now, if you also remember, under the PDP government, that there was a lot of engagement in the private sector. I remember I was a youngish SA at that time. Every Saturday, the president and the vice president, because he was chairman of the Economic Council, used to meet with leaders of different sectors in the business community that would come and tell them what were the issues they had that was affecting business. And they were addressing them with technocrats. This is the kind of government that you're going to have with Atiku Abubakar. Hands-on, private sector driven, that will bring confidence for investment. Look, Africa is still the continent for investment. We're lucky about that. Are you understand? So yes. If we get the message right, the message, well, what do you like using, the body language of this government does not encourage any private sector person bringing money. And as such, government has to fund everything. But the moment you create that, government will have to fund less. You will have more, your foreign reserve will pick up. You will borrow less. And your revenues, you go up if you can. Yes, also said issue of fuel subsidy is something that we need to let go of. So your revenues will pick up, right? So
talking about message then, a lot of people have seen I personally have watched most of the campaigns of the different political parties, and you find, say Baba, say this, say that, and a lot of political jingoism that you will find there. In terms of specific messaging that will help Nigerians make up their mind that this is the candidate we should vote for, you don't see that. You don't hear it, because you just get loads of verbal promises that are not backed by these are the ways or the path that we intend to work on this. What are the key things that your candidate will say, we will do, and this is how we will do? Because if somebody says, I'm going to create 5 million jobs in the first year, how?
Okay. Let me I think those of you also in the media must take part of the blame on the issues of where we talk about, because you've seen a lot of sloganeering, you've seen a lot of propaganda, and people are not held accountable. How can you be going to a presidential election and candidates are evading debates, are evading discussions? In 2023, in today's world, I mean, in developed countries, presidential candidates are scrutinized, they're x-rayed, they tell you what they're not proxies, not third parties. They themselves will tell you. And when you discuss with Atiku Abubakar and you talk about his policy, when you listen to him, you know that this policy was not written by people and just given to him. He will take you through it. It's 5-point agenda. 1, I must secure the country. Number 1, how do I secure the country? It talks about more recruitment of personnel. You've got to bring in technology. And very importantly, he's going to ensure that there's collaboration between the agencies. One of the major problems of this government and this APC party is that the security agencies have not been able to share intelligence as much as possible. Now, and technology, that will increase. He said 2, I will address the economy. The second agenda. Addressing the economy, he said, 1, I will be able to raise money by the time I tackle wealth theft, take out subsidy. Those 2 items alone, done properly, can give you close to $10 billion. So when you say something, he's not just saying them. And I like the point you're saying. Let some of these candidates tell us what. So when he tells you, I'm going to put money into small scale, he knows where that money is coming from. Because he has a political will These two issues are things that this government, this party should have tackled. These two issues of subsidy and oil theft, okay? He said, I will ensure that there's investment coming in different sectors. People want to invest in the mineral sector. They're still less than 1% of GDP. They want to invest in gas. The gas projects that will provide employment for our youth. There's a tech sector for the youth. There's a creative industry that you spend the whole day talking to them, telling them the plans to support. So it's not just, unfortunately, the media organizations don't, I'm not saying, Rise is a very credible one, don't focus on those issues. When a candidate cannot even tell us what he's doing, how do you hold? So these are some of the things, that's economy.
Yes.
Then he talks about restructuring, because restructuring is important. We must get the subnational more efficient. We must get the country more efficient. And that is something that Nigerians should say, because when you go and vote, you vote for issues. You say, okay, why am I voting for this party or for this candidate? Because I want this country to be better. How does this country be better? You must restructure for it to be better. Then which candidate truly believes in this restructuring? So if you believe in restructuring, you must go and vote for PDP and Atiku, because he has the pathway for that. That's number 3. He talks about how we unite this country, because that is key. Again, when PDP was in government, the unity of this country was better than now. No doubt. I can ask you. We must be able to speak truth and say what it is. The level of disunity in the country now was never before. APC brought us there.
But you were part of the
That's
people that said you were not happy with PDP, and then you moved to APC. No, you said the government was better, but yet you left.
Yes, I did. And when I realized, I think
and you weren't the only one. There were quite a few
in life. Sometimes you do take decisions. Yes. It's not for you to think. It was done out of the interest of this country. But one was also bold enough and man enough to say, we made a mistake. This cannot take us there, because the promises and what the expectations were not there. So you're
acknowledging that all of you that left PDP in 2015, you made a mistake and you want us to go back to...
I can't speak for everybody. I can't speak for...
Okay, for yourself.
I can only speak for myself. I've always acknowledged that.
Okay,
so let me just finish it, because I was at restructuring. And the last was education. His focus on the importance that must address education. These are the agenda that he has, main core agenda that he has put in. And so when you talk about a lot of noise, I think he's one that is speaking to what he wants to do from day one. And that's what separates him. He's had an opportunity to sit down with 2 or 3 big TV channels where he sat down. They have asked him about his policy. He has responded to it for 2.5 hours, telling Nigerians what he wants to do. Let the other candidates, particularly other leading strong party, until they do that, in my view, they have not even started campaigning. Campaigning through proxies is different from you sitting down telling Nigerians, this is what I intend to do, so that Nigeria can judge you. I hear people talk about teams. Yes, but there must be leadership. There must be vision. Nigeria needs leaders that are hands-on. If you are not hands-on, as we've seen in the last 8 years, it will not work. Because the work that needs to be done is a lot. It needs somebody who knows what he expects, who is ready to chase what he expects, and who has an idea. Your team is as good as where you lead them to. So this is why I believe strongly that going forward for this country now, where we are now, I hear you on some of the issues, but I believe strongly that he is the best prepared to take us to where we are.
All right.
Where we want to go.
So let's talk about campaigns. Later today, Waziri Atiku Abubakar, he's back on the campaign train. Some people had asked, about his whereabouts. He said he'd been on holiday in Dubai from the 1st. He went to London on the invitation of British government officials. And so that obviously brought up speculations around his health. And he's had to come out to defend his health status. And you would understand why Nigerians are concerned. Because in this particular administration, we've had to work with a president who spent quite a reasonable amount of time abroad on health grounds for health checks. Even though he said it's paid from his personal account, Nigeria still funds at least his flight costs to the United Kingdom. And so you would understand Nigerians' concerns around the health of your presidential candidate. Then, talking about mistakes, it's a good opportunity to speak to you about that, because former President Olusegun Obasanjo had said to a group of students last year in June that one of the mistakes he made was picking Waziri Atiku Abubakar as his number 2 candidate. So in the same way that you mentioned that leaders make decisions and they go back and they say it was a mistake, I'd like you to speak to that. If his someone he worked very closely with for 8 years, comes out to say that picking him as a vice president was a mistake,
but at the same time,
Nigerians be going to the polls on February 25 too?
But Obasanjo has said that. At the same time, he has said that in 2019, when we were campaigning, he also said that he's a good candidate for Nigeria.
But this was in 2022.
I'm saying, which one do you pick? I don't know the fora which he said that. The fora I know that he has also said when we went to campaign that this is the candidate that. But the issue is this. Let's leave out what Obasanjo said. Let's look at what he did when he was vice president. As I said, as vice president, he was head of the Economic Council. He drove a lot of the privatization. He had driven the issue of economy. Did PDP do well under those issues of the economy in that period? PDP did well. PDP government did well.
So why isn't Obasanjo supporting him this time? He supported Mr. Peter Obi.
Obasanjo has said that his own view, from what I hear, is that he strongly believes that there should be a Southern president. That's his view. He said that, and I will say he said that because I ran for presidential primaries and I went to see him seeking for support. And he said, look, son, my view is that I think that there should be a Southern president. So that's his view, and he's entitled to his view. That does not mean because he thinks or believes that there should be a Southern president, all of a sudden Atiku is no longer good. And I'm saying that let us go by the records that exist for Atiku Abubakar. It's the records I want us to go. You see, this is why I keep on coming back to this in the media. Let us stand and stick to the issue. You talked about health. We all know, everyone knew that Atiku Abubakar was in London to attend a meeting in the UK government. It was just some propaganda trying to raise the impression that, all the candidates or most of the candidates are not healthy. We know those that are not, that have health challenges. So Atiku Abubakar does not belong to that category. Atiku Abubakar is ready to debate the issues. He's come to tell Nigerians this is what I want to do. A leading party that wants to rule this country are not doing that. They're sending proxies. That sends a bad signal. And it's not just a presidential. You see, even people running for governor,
yes,
they're not talking to their people. Then when they become governor, they don't perform. We're surprised. Why should it be? I believe that any candidate is not ready to tell the people who want to vote him, this is what I want to do. He's not fit to be in that position. Tell us. It might not be perfect, but please let us know. And I think it's wrong for voters to go and vote for somebody who you have not even sat down and told you what he wants to do. So my take is that he's very fit. As I said, look at the discussion on his policy. That is somebody that knows, not somebody that was given a policy and is reading it out. He's ready to come out and take questions. Today, we're here in Lagos before the Economic Summit Group. He's having interviews with different media organizations. They're going to take him up. He wants to talk about his policy. He wants to talk about what he wants to do. That is a candidate that is prepared from day one to be up and running.
So let me ask you this.
Yes, go ahead.
A lot of people have said that in politics, make as many friends as you can, avoid very strong enemies because they will come out with all kinds of troubles. Now, unfortunately, Atiku Abubakar and PDP seem to have an enemy that is or used to be within, but we're not even sure whether he's within or he's without.
No.
And that is the G5 led by Governor Wike. You have a situation on your hand where there is serious damage done to the party. If you were to ignore the camera in this place and be honest with us and say, what is the level of damage that the G5 led by Governor Wike has done to the PDP and your candidate?
I'll be very honest with you. Like any political party, you want everybody to be on board and move in one direction. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen, but the election is not tomorrow. Election is still another 6 to go. And you know politics. As I always say, 24 hours is a long time.
It is a long time, yes.
We were in Plateau yesterday to commiserate and condole the people of Plateau State with a ghastly road traffic accident. And we paid a visit to Governor Jang, former governor of Plateau State, who you all know 3 weeks ago said, I will not support Atiku. Today, we're happy to hear he says it's PDP, top to bottom, he's supporting Atiku. So work is a lot of stuff is being done.
But the damage as of today,
how
how would you quantify it?
Look, I've looked at it because now we're going to start talking about, look at states and how I've told you at the opening, I believe that we will do well in the Northeast, except for probably 2 states. We will do well in those 4 states in the Northeast. We will do well in the Northwest. I'm confident that 5 to 6 states will take in the Northwest. We will do well in the North Central. It's been past being a PDP state. We will, despite issues, we'll do well in Benue, despite the fact that the governor is not. Because you see, don't forget, with the new Electoral Act, with the technology brought in, we're still looking at politics as if it's a command and control. That one man can, it's changed. People now have voices. People now have their own views. So when you put so much importance, I'm not saying they're not important. Benue is PDP. Maybe we're going to cut, let's say we're going to score 400,000 because of this issue. Yeah, we will lose some votes. But I still believe we'll win Benue. We will win Plateau.
Okay.
So the point I'm making is that even in Oyo State, you saw the people of Oyo State are saying, Governor, we hear you, we understand you, but guess what? We're voting Atiku. So the point I'm making is that we still got 45 days or 40 days to go. We will see more and more of some of the members come on board. We're still talking,
so
we're engaging.
Can I interpret that as you're saying that there's been serious damage, but you're working?
No, I'm not saying
or there's
that.
No damage?
No.
I'm just trying to clarify.
No, you're trying to give me your words.
Okay,
let me use my words.
Your word, yes.
My words are, it's unfortunate.
Okay.
It could have given us a bigger margin. What I'm saying is that between now and then, we will likely bring back most of these voters on. You saw them. They told you by first week of January, they're going to tell Nigerians where they're going. We are now middle of January. They have not told Nigerians where they're going. You should read into that. There's something going on. And I'm saying be optimistic that we have the capacity that come time of the election, you will see that the situation is not. So I cannot predict something that I know, because I know there's some things happening I don't want to share with you in here. As you say, with the lights are off, the lights are on. So I'm going to choose.
We'd love for you to share with us.
But what I'm sharing is that,
let me talk about,
sure.
Let's stay on this
Sure.
for a few minutes, because of course it's played quite a significant role in Atiku Abubakar's campaign towards elections 2023. What are the agitations? The agitation of the G5 governors is that the presidential candidates of your party and the chairman of your party are from the same zone. You have also talked about the nepotism in this particular administration. And what Nigerians are saying is that if you're not able to handle it within your party, what is the assurance for Nigerians that you wouldn't address such issues if, in the event that your candidate becomes president? That's one. The second part of that is, so the big thing is that, and then the second part adding to that is on leadership. You talk about the importance of leadership, the power of leadership. People are saying that if you're not able to manage your internal politics, if I put it that way, how then, as a leader in Nigeria, would you manage the diversity and the complexities of the politics of Nigeria as a whole?
Okay, I think first of all, it's the solution that the G5 want, which there's nothing, it's not something that is easy to do without addressing the constitution of the party and processes. It's not something that you can just wave one and say, this will happen. It's not something that's driven just by his own decision. That's point number one. It's different when you as a president and executive president of the country and you have responsibility. Those are within your powers. These are strictly party issues. Now, but I can assure you that it's an issue of timing. What the G5 are asking for insurance of equity balancing. Everybody is on the same page with that. It's all about when it will happen. Those are the kind of things that we're talking about now. Nobody is not against what they're saying. It's about timing. When it should be done? How should we go about it? And I promise you, and we're working out to see that those issues will be addressed.
So you're moving to regularize that. So you're saying that maybe elections are a distraction at the moment. As we move forward, you would constitutionally remove your chairman.
What I'm saying is that those issues, that the chairman himself is not saying he wants to sit tight and do that. Do you understand what I'm saying? What is important now before us is this election. We hear those cries, we hear those issues. I don't see a President Atiku from the north being sworn in May 2023 as president, and in the same year we'll continue to have a northern chairman. I don't see that. It's all about timing and how best to go about it. So the fears of Nigerians that, oh, this is a party that does not care or listen to those issues, not that. It's how to go about the process that we don't break laws in trying to do that. I can assure you. And I'll be back here in 2023 to tell, I'll remember, and I'll remind you as well.
So what you're saying, in essence, if I were to read the minds of some of those on the G5, they'll be saying that if that were the case, why could it not be implemented now so that they're clear? Because there's an understanding, according to them, that if there is a candidate that emerges and is from a certain region, the chairman will not be from that region. There was the issue of secondus that was moved out. Some people said there was some power politics that led to the then chairman secondus being moved out so that it could then become a southern candidate that would emerge. So how do you...
No, I think you're putting... Even the chairman has said that we're in February, we're 5 weeks away. That if the president emerges which we're very hopeful Atiku will emerge, that the issue of the chairman will be addressed. So that has already been said. All the G5 are saying that no. We want it now. Do you understand? So we're not that far apart. And I can assure Nigerians we're not that far apart. And that is why you're seeing some of them begin to understand, you know what, let's go and win this election. And then we'll come back and address
So you're saying
that.
some of them are beginning to capitulate?
Don't use, if you use capitulate as a strong word, as if you know, they're betraying them. I'm not using capitulate.
Well, you said you would sanction, the PDP said they'd sanction them if they do not, as what they're doing is tantamount to anti-party activities.
No, capitulate is different from tantamount to PDP activity. I don't know what activities they wanted to do then. The point I'm saying is that as we continue to engage with Nigerians, we see the bigger picture. There are 200 million Nigerians that are waiting to see that a new government, new direction for Nigeria. That issue is more important. Not saying that issue of the party is not important. They want to see better life, better security. They believe that through Atiku Abubakar that will happen. So a lot of us in the party are saying, you know what? Let's think of the future of Nigerians. Let us go and vote for Atiku Abubakar. Once we do that, then we now also address the issue of the chairmanship of the party.
All right. Okay. Very quickly, because we're about to wrap up now.
Yeah.
Every politician has something they're looking for, and that's why they're into politics.
Yeah.
Nobody goes into it to just say, oh, yeah, it's for the general good of the nation, and I'm being altruistic about it. More often than not, when you hear a politician say, oh, it's for the general good of the people who have been called to serve, the assumption is it is not true. Now, let me ask you pointedly, what is in it for you if Atiku Abubakar were to become the president of Nigeria? Because you're not in the Senate, you're not in the National Assembly. What's in it for you? What's the deal for you by supporting Atiku?
The deal for me is to reverse the unfortunate 8 years that this country has gone through. I'll say it categorically, and I say it. When I ran for president, people said, go to the Senate, to this. I'm not interested. I don't have to be in public office. But I'm desperate for a new direction for this country. I believe that Atiku Abubakar, which is what I've heard, his background, what he has done, will drive the economy, which is key. Even when we talk about insecurity, we must go back to the issue of economy. I know he will drive the economy. He will create private sector investment. He will plug the issue of oil theft. He will address the issue of subsidy. He will bring in investors. if the country begins to get better, as you say, people like us say, oh, thank God, we made a mistake a long time ago, but the country is now moving in the right direction.
So no promise of anything for you?
This is what I want. A better Nigeria. Because, you know, as
you're not interested in any political appointment for the future?
That is not a priority, not at all.
Okay.
What is important is to make Atiku Abubakar the president of Nigeria, because I truly believe that he is ready and he will make this country much better.
Well, thank you very much,
Thank
Dr.
you so
Bukola
much.
Saraki, for your time this morning.
Thank you so much.
On The Morning Show.